Right, welcome to Wendy Charnley, who is now Garforth. Welcome to the Women in Rugby League and Life with the Lionesses, who toured on 3 occasions for Great Britain Lionesses in 1996, 2000 here in the UK, and also 2003. And everyone I've interviewed, including Jackie Sheldon, has said she is the character of our team and our cheeky one who was always having a laugh on and off the field. And up to no good, I think was the years, but also very, very talented rugby league player. So welcome, Wendy.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Nice to see you.
Yeah, and you. So tell us a bit more about where you were born and how you started playing rugby league.
Wow. I was born in Rochdale. I was brought up in a big community. So in our community, we had a big Irish family, a big Scottish family, and obviously a big English family. We were just missing a Welsh family. I come from a family of 8. So I've got 5 brothers, 2 sisters. So there's 8 of us. So I've lived in Rochdale all my life until I moved to the sunny Oldham.
Oh, you're in Oldham now.
I'm in Oldham now, yeah. So I didn't start playing rugby because till I was around about 18 or 19 years old. I had 2 children, very young. Obviously, big estates and stuff like that. I was a teenage mum. I didn't come from a sporting background, so nobody did sports in our house. Nobody did sports anywhere on the estate. So I don't even know how I've got to play rugby, really. Well, I do, because it was my next door neighbour on the estate I lived in. She'd asked me if I wanted to come and play rugby, and I looked at her and she was a prop forward. And I was like, are you crazy? So she's like, just come down, have a go. Anyway, I went down. There was a women's team called the Rochdale Ravens based at Mayfield in Castleton, and I went down one day with my friend and my rugby career started from there.
Oh wow, so you were sort of part of the initial, because there's not many Lancashire teams in the early doors, was there in the women's rugby league? So what was it like playing in that league and playing the likes of Wakefield and Bradford and Redhill at the time, wasn't it?
It was Redhill, yes, it was. So Wakefield was always a hard game. Every one of the girls on the Rochdale team were kind of like, oh no, it's Wakefield. You know, they were hard hitters. There was some really good players on that team. But they went, you know, fairness to all the women and girls that played with us, they went and they put on their performance regardless of the score. We probably got leathered each time we went. You know, but we had a right good drink afterwards, Julia. Let me tell you that. But yeah, there weren't many teams around, so we always had to travel that way across Yorkshire and stuff like that. But yeah, they stuck to it and they played.
Well, I remembered playing Rochdale when I was at Fulham Women. So
I remember.
We came down and it was always a good do afterwards.
It was always a good do.
Yeah. So can you tell us about how you got into playing international? Obviously your first tour was 1996, which is obviously the historic tour that the actual last team, either England men, Great Britain men, or England women that won the Ashes, that actually won the series against the Australians. So how did you get into the international? What was sort of the process, and can you remember what you were doing?
I think it was my charm, Julia. It was my charm, obviously. Me jokes, I think. No, I'm kidding. I think there was some trials going on, and our coaches at the time had said to us, I'm going to put a few years up for this trial. Are you interested in doing it? So I'm like, oh, what does it entail? I've got 2 little ones at home. Am I going to be able to do this, and this? So he went, just go, see what you think. Anyway, I went, and it was bloody tough. I thought, wow. And then I'm having to play against my own teammates as well in this trial. And I'm thinking, wow, do I hit them that hard? Do I not? And I just thought, oh, sorry, I'm on the rugby pitch. I'm just going to play. It don't matter who they are. And I think when I came back, I don't know how long, I can't remember how long it was afterwards, Julia, but we didn't have any phones them days. Well, we did. My mum had a big dial one, but we used to like tap it like that if we wanted to ring anybody. Not my mum, sorry, we did. And I got a letter through the post. And I remember the children's dad at the time saying, "You've got a letter here." So enthusiastic. So I opened this letter and it said that I'd been picked like to play for Great Britain. Well, I didn't know what to say. I thought somebody were having a laugh. I thought, are they having a laugh here or what? Anyway, it started from there then, and then obviously a couple of the other teammates had also been picked. Paula Tunnicliffe, Lucia Stott, you know, they'd been picked as well, and it was like, thank God they'd been picked, because I didn't drive, Julia. How would I have got there? You know what I mean? But so yeah, and that's basically how it started, and then going training and stuff like that.
And what was it like? What did your family think when you'd actually been picked? Obviously, your then partner not so keen, but what about the rest of your family and everyone?
My mum was my biggest supporter. Yeah, my mum was the biggest supporter of them. The family was just kind of like, all right, you know, there was, back in the day, then days, Julia, they were all getting on with their own things, and, you know, it was my mum that was, everywhere I went, my mum would be smacking my thighs and going, "She's a rugby player, this one," you know. I could be in shopping with her and she's slapping my thighs. I'm like, "Mother, what are you doing?" There was no way I was going to trap off me with my mum slapping my thighs like that, said, telling everyone I played rugby. Just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, my mum was my biggest fan. And obviously as the kids got older, they had to become my biggest fan. There was everywhere. Kids were in my arms. "Come on, kids, we're doing this," you know.
Oh, brilliant.
But yeah. And then the kids' dad at the time did, you know, he did play a big part, because obviously he had to do, because of the kids and stuff, and watching them. So, but yeah, she was my biggest fan.
Oh, can you remember your preparation then before you went on tour, and what you needed to do to get on tour?
That's the hardest bit. It was like Rocky Balboa for me, because I didn't have a gym. So, you know, picking stones up and all that stuff to try and do some training. No, what it was, I went to, the training was really difficult for Great Britain, especially for me, because I couldn't afford a gym at the time. I didn't have any money. All my money was going into the house, the kids, everything like that. So I had to heavily rely on, I mean, Rochdale Council were fantastic. Rochdale Council, I can't praise them enough, because they made me a sporting ambassador through playing for Great Britain. And they give me a gym membership. So every time I toured for Great Britain and Ireland, they give me a gym membership to use. I mean, by the second tour, I think I paid for my own gym by then, because there was council run ones that I was going to. But the training, like I said, I had to heavily rely on Paula and Lucia to get me to training, because I didn't drive. And Jane Banks come along with us sometimes as well, because she was another one who didn't drive. But the training was tough. It was hard. So I loved it though, Julia. I'd never been in a sporting background in my life, and when I started training for Great Britain, I got fire in my belly for training. I got fire in my belly for a gym. You know, I really, really did enjoy the training, although it was really difficult. And I think the diets, because you got diets. I've never ate so much food in my life. You're just constantly eating. Oh my God. The physios, I mean, we got access to physios as well. The training was tough, but we needed it to be as well. We did.
Yeah. So how about the fundraising? A lot of them have talked about the fundraising and raising the funds, and how was that?
Well, thought training was tough. That was tough. So the fundraising, bucket collections, dare I say? Bucket collections all the time. I think me puppy dog Cat Eyes came out at the time with this bucket, and you know, I wanted to buy some false lashes, you know, to look like a camel, and like, well, please, you know, come on. Bucket collections. So the fundraising, we all had to raise a certain amount of money to go on this tour. If you didn't raise it, you weren't going. It was simple as that. Well, I was excited now. Of course, I'm going to raise it. You know, I want to do everything to raise it. So my club was really good. So Rochdale Ravens were really good. Rochdale Mayfield were really good. They gave me some money. Rochdale Ravens did football cards all the time. Bucket collections everywhere. We'd go with the Great Britain team. We'd do bucket collections everywhere with them. They did, my friend's mum did she had a friend had a canal barge, and she'd invited all her friends to come over to this canal barge, and she charged them to get on. She charged them to get on, and we had raffle prizes that, God bless her, you know, we raised, I think it was about £100 that day in a couple of hours on this barge. And there were just all sorts. Everyone was pulling out the stops to raise money for it. Rochdale Council gave me some money. The Prince's Trust, because at the time I was under 24. So I think he was able to get something from the Prince's Trust. So they gave me, I think at the time, I think it was about £500 to buy some kit to go with. Because I had bugger all. I had a pair of shorts, I think. And obviously the Great Britain kit and your tracksuit. And I remember the suits. Oh my God, how bad was that? I mean, thank God Jackie Sheldon didn't make me go on Moment of Truth. I think I'd have just messed it all up and we wouldn't have had no suits. But, you know, well done, hats off to them girls that went and did that, because they smashed it on the night. But yeah, why? But I suppose we needed the money. We needed to look professional, which, in all fairness to Jackie and the other coaches and the backing staff, the management and everything like that, even though we weren't in the media, Julia, even though nobody was looking at us, they made it all professional. We felt like professional players over there because they made it like that for us. And it's that makes me proud that they did that, you know. But yeah, the fundraising was very difficult.
Yeah. And it was unbelievable. It was well ahead of its time. You know, the training regime, the conditioning, the health and fitness, but also the off-field stuff, wasn't it? The mental, you know, toughness stuff that they did with you, and the team building. And
I remember the psychologist, and I think everybody had seen this old lady's face. And they were like, what has anybody seen anything different? Like this, me. I said, what did you see, Wendy? I was like, it was like a tiger, and I said, it had all these stripes. And I can't remember who it was at the time. And they looked over and they went, you're very unique, you're very unique. I was like, and I'm like that to everybody else. Did anybody else see that? They went, no. I was like, okay. But the psychologist and the dietitians, everything like that, absolutely fantastic. And you needed that, Julia. You needed that.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to you going on tour then, young mum, going on tour. What was it like then? 1996, you got your call up and you knew you were going. You got all your funding and you knew you were going.
I knew I was going, but then when I got all the funding and I knew I was going, it was kind of like something. I was like, oh my God, I'm leaving me children for a long time. I'd never been away from them, and I'm leaving them now for a long time. You know. Am I going to be able to do this mentally? I knew I could do it physically, but it was the mentally, if I could do it mentally and not get over emotional and stuff like that. But anyway, you know, they were too young to have this conversation. They had an 8-year-old and they had a 6-year-old. They understood a little bit and they said, Mummy's going playing sport and stuff. But I don't think they knew that I weren't coming home the day after, you know, it's going to be 3.5 weeks before you see me again, because there was no FaceTime. There was no FaceTime. You couldn't do all that stuff. It was the phone boxes. And I did miss them. And that was tough. I think that was kind of, I would have said New Zealand women are tough, but I think the toughest part was leaving the kids and then speaking to them on the phone, you know. But they was happy. You know, they was happy and there was like, go Mum and all that stuff. They were giving me all that. And that was what cheered me up. Don't get me wrong, there were sometimes I was in tears on tour, you know, and the women I was on tour with, and including Jackie, fantastic. They just brought you back up. I think, you know, everybody was there for everybody else, because there was a couple of people who had kids, you know, on that tour, and it was tough. It was really tough.
What's your memories of Australia then? Tell us a bit more about that and actually going that first tour.
Oh, so Australia. So I remember the flights. I'd only ever been on a flight to Ibiza before that with my little boy. So I didn't even know what I was expecting. I didn't even know the length of this flight. I didn't know how long we were going to be on it. And I don't remember if I sat next to Jane Banks and was it Nikki? Nikki, was she the manager at the time? Nikki, the one with the handcuffs to the...
Nikki Carter, to the money, handcuffed to the money.
Yeah. So I think I sat next to Nikki Carter, and I'm not too sure if it was Jane Banks, but I remember on one of the tours I sat next to Jane Banks on the plane, and her legs was literally all over me. I could not move. But I remember this flight to Australia, and it stopped at Bombay, which is it not there anymore now, is it? But it stopped at Bombay, and I'd asked if I could just get off just for a little break. I said, because I needed a break, I needed to stretch my legs. This was too much for me on this flight. So they let me off into the, where the plane attaches to this bit. And I remember it must have been, it was so hot and humid that I lasted about a minute out of there before I ran back on the plane to get some to breathe. So when we got to Australia, I think did we go to Sydney? I think we went to Sydney, and we stayed in a nice hotel with a pool and everything. So that was really good. And we were jet lagged as well. I felt like I had flu, but we was warned of this. So, the coaching staff had warned us, and they said you might feel a little bit under the weather, and we did. We felt under the weather, and it was just, once you got around and you acclimatised and everything, it was straight training. There was there was no time for anything. It was like training. And everything was around your food, your diet, your training. There were I think we had a day off where we could go and do what we wanted. And I think some went further afield. And I think there was a few of us and a few Yorkshire girls that just kind of went and explored the city and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was good. And then we went to, was it Canberra? We got to Canberra, yeah, we went to Canberra. And a couple of the Rochdale Ravens girls had come over to support us and watch us, which I thought were fantastic. Coming that far just to come support us, that made me feel better in myself as well, having them there. But yeah, I can't really. This is awful. I can't really remember which games I played in.
Yeah, can you remember actually the physical that you actually playing the Australians and what it was like? Not the particular detail.
Yes, they were strong. So the Aussies were strong. They were organised. I remember coming out of the pitch and looking and thinking, Jesus Christ, because it was new to us. We've only played each other, which some of our women they're strong, aren't they? The powerhouses, our women over here, and it proved it over in Australia, didn't it? That we're powerhouses anyway. But yes, they were organised, they were strong, they hit hard as well, you knew. Didn't hit as hard as the New Zealand women, but they hit hard enough, but yeah, it was kind of like, I was just amazed by the organisational of them all, and their skill levels as well, because they've been playing a long time, haven't they, before us.
The actual first game was in 1921, but they only played for 2 years. Did you know that?
No, I did not. Really?
Yeah. They had 2 years of games. But yeah, so they'd been doing a bit beforehand, actually. Not as much as you think, but actually, because I think the athleticism of Australians and the culture, it looked like they'd played a lot longer. So on to the final test match then, Wendy. What was that like when you won the Ashes?
Oh my God, I think everybody was looking at this clock. The game was being played, everyone was looking up at the clock, and I can remember thinking, come on referee, and I'm not sure, but I think the referee carried on for a bit longer than if I'm correct, I think it was carrying on, and I thought, I couldn't breathe. I was lit, and then when that final whistle went, not got my teeth in, see, whistle. And when that final whistle went, everybody was, I think they was shocked. They were shocked. They was like, oh my God, oh my God. I remember Jackie Sheldon, oh, the excitement, the ecstaticness on it, it was just like, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Obviously the Aussies were gutted, but it was like, that night was a real big celebration, Julia, let me tell you, that was a big celebration. I think I got carried home that
night. So you came back home in '96. Obviously, the last team, the last Great Britain team to win the Ashes. So what was it like coming back? And was there a hero's welcome? And
in the airport, no, there wasn't a hero's welcome. I think some of the parents were there and people who had gone. Fortunately, mine weren't. There wasn't a hero's welcome, but I think when you got back to your hometown and everybody, the people, especially people who knew you were going, Rochdale Council, like I said, they, I became a sporting ambassador for Rochdale, you know, and I was in the paper. So the run up to the tour, you was in the paper, and then coming back home and winning the Ashes, you were in your local paper. But other than that, nothing. It was kind of like, oh, I've done that now. Okay, that's it. What am I doing next? I tried netball for a bit. Let me tell you, I tried netball for a little bit, Julia, in between, and I got bad. They told me it was a non-contact game. Who'd have known that? I didn't know that. Anyway.
So your next was in 2000 when it was on home soil. So what was it like? Well, obviously getting selected again to play on your home soil and in front of your home crowd, really.
Yeah, well, it was an honour to get selected in the first place for the first tour, and then again for this tour, I was kind of like, oh, maybe I am all right, you know, maybe I've got a little bit about me. So the tour over here kind of felt a little bit better because I was closer to home. I weren't a plane ride away. I was literally a car journey away. And I think we stayed in Wigan. And I remember speaking to my mum because I think the Great Britain team management had put New Zealand and Australia together at Otwood Hall College in Rochdale, in Middleton. And I remember my mum, I was speaking to my mum and she said, I've just seen them women, they're eating full chickens walking up the street. They're eating full chickens. I went, Mum, calm down. She went, they're massive, these girls. Are you playing against these girls? I'm like, yes, Mum. And she's like, they're huge, these girls. You're going to get injured. I'm like, oh, calm down. Goodness sake. Bearing in mind, my mum hadn't actually seen me play. She'd never seen me play. And so being in, I think we stayed in Wigan. I think it was a Wigan hotel we stayed at. So I was allowed home every so often to go and spend some time with my kids, which really, really helped. It helped me mentally as well. But I remember we were supposed to play at Rochdale. Now, at Rochdale Hornets we were supposed to play at, and the game got called off for whatever reason. The pitch was waterlogged or whatever, and the game got moved to Hull. So I was wounded, Julie. I was absolutely gutted because I thought, nobody drives in my family and stuff, and they were all going to come to Rochdale Hornets. Every man and his dog were going to come. This community were going to come, and then obviously they were going to come to Hull at short notice. But I remember playing the game at Hull, and there was an issue with my shirt. I put my shirt on, Julie. I must have been eating pies or something because this shirt would not go on. And I remember Jackie saying, "We're going to have to give her another shirt. We're going to have to give her another shirt." And I put somebody else's shirt on, and there was a big hoo-ha about it. So about me wearing this shirt. Anyway, I played and worn this shirt. And I think Jackie had a word with, who got these shirts? Who got these shirts? I couldn't move my arms. I said, I'm not going to pass the ball with this. Honest to God. But yeah, the home one was a lot better. It was a lot better for me. But yeah.
And you beat the Aussies again.
We did. We beat the Aussies again. They won't learn, will they?
No, they won't.
They had a Masters team. I'll be over there, me, Julia. I'll be over there. It's all right.
And you played the final at Warrington, didn't you? Against
did,
the Kiwis. Yeah.
Yeah. Blimey, them are some strong women on there. It was like hitting a brick wall with them. The New Zealand women are strong. Don't fall into that false sense of niceness from them neither, because they are really nice girls. And you can kind of like, oh, they're really nice. They're really nice and sweet talking and such angelic voices. Oh my God, where does that come out when they go on the pitch? It's like, I was talking to you before, round the corner. What's happened here? But yes, when you played against them, I think you knew you were in a game. You knew they were, that it was just bang, and you was like, I think I remember being, I was tackling somebody, and I think she was a prop. She was a big girl, and then in one of the games, and I was underneath, and then Lisa Mack was on top of this prop, this Lisa Mack and me underneath. I thought, oh my God. I think that was against Australia, that there was a big prop forward on there, and I got carried off that day. I got carried off, and they were all going out afterwards, celebrating and everything. It was after the Aussie game, and I was in a net brace. I was like in a net brace, laid in my room like that, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going, weren't allowed to have a drink or anything. I was like, oh God.
Oh dear.
Oh,
so you didn't learn, did you? Because you did that 2000 and then carried on playing and eventually went on tour again in 2003. What was the difference in, because obviously you were in the 96 and training was hard and physical. Was there a difference in sort of culture and training and things, and as it got to 2003?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the training had progressed even more. So, you know, you had a program, and I remember sticking to my program, and I went in my program, I had to go for some runs, and I remember you got tested, you was fitness tested, and I remember, I think it was Jackie Sheldon she said to me, you need to slow down on your runs. I went, she's been watching me, has she been following me? I thought she'd been following me on my runs and timing me. How bizarre is that? I was like, oh my God. But yes, the training was a lot more intense. It needed to be because New Zealand was, for that World Series, that we knew what we was getting into. We knew that they was going to big hit us. We knew that they was regimental to their training, and we needed to do something similar. And the diet as well. So the food you had to eat, the training you had to do. Bearing in mind, Julia, I've not done big heavy weights and you know, weights like that you had to do. And I can remember we played against, in one of the training things, we played against some lads. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? But and it was to get us ready and prepared for New Zealand and playing against the New Zealand Kiwis. I'm sorry, Julia. My Shih Tzu is whinging at me. I'm really sorry. I'm just going to point to his water. He's blind.
So back to the Australians and the New Zealanders in that World Series then in 2003 and going out again to Australia. Tell us about some of your antics, Wendy. We can't go without telling some of your naughty stories, your mischief.
Well, I blame Sam Brooke for that, some of that, and Jane Banks and Nicola Simpson, Bart, you know, and Lisa Mack. She's not getting away with it neither, you know. Yeah, so I mean, some of the funny things, we'll tell you some of the funny things first. So one of the funniest moments on tour was Lisa Mack being interviewed, and she was stood next to an Aussie player. And the woman, because we were the smallest team in the World Series. We were the smallest team, the Great Britain. And I remember the interviewer saying to Lisa, when Lisa said this to her, that we were the smallest team, and the interviewer said, but you look similar in size and height. And Lisa went, yeah, we do. The difference is she's a back and I'm a forward. And the interviewer didn't know where to put her face. She went, oh, right, okay. Oh. And then another funny story is with Jane Banks. So we was in New Zealand, and the game, we weren't supposed to be playing a game for a few days. So we had a few days grace. And Jane went, sod it, I'm going having a tattoo done and I'm having my tongue pierced. I was like, are you mad? She went, we've got time, it'll have healed by the time we play the next game. I went, right, okay. So we went with her, having a tattooed and having a tongue pierced. Gets back and the game's been brought forward. Jane Banks all night, ice on a tongue, drinking cold drink, not being able to talk, the tongue's coming out and everything. And I think she even got interviews as it was still swollen on this. Oh my God, I can't even believe it.
How was she with the tattoo though as well?
Jane, she's tough.
Yeah.
Tough, yeah. Don't bother Jane. And I think Bart had one as well, and she was the same. She had a tattoo as well. We just went crazy, didn't we? Some of the other, the drug testing. So I remember being drug tested, and Sally Milburn, and there were two other girls, and we'd just finished a game, and we'd come into the showers, and there were these 4 women in suits, because there were 4 of us being drug tested. And I remember Sally, I can't say on video what Sally had shouted, but it was some naughty words. And I think the woman, Sally was going to the toilet, and it was, lady time as well. And the woman said, you've got to keep your doors open, ladies. And because somebody were watching, we couldn't actually go to the toilet. So it was like, I need to have a shower. So we went in the shower, and they followed us into the shower, and they stood there, and it was honest, Julie, I thought I'd done something wrong, but we had been told not to buy particular products from the chemist, things like night-nurse and stuff. And then I was thinking, what if it comes back? What if I've had night-nurse? Have I had any night-nurse? Has anybody given me anything? And then I thought, I've only had paracetamol. It can't be because of that. So that was interesting. And then some of the other stories, where, mine and Sam Brooks' room were kind of like a bit of a time-out space, if you like, for some of the women on tours. And they'd often come in if they wanted just to have a bit of a laugh and stuff. And I think, I think with me, as well as missing home and trying to keep everybody else's morals up, it was important to try and put the comedic effect in there, if you like, and do some little antics and stuff, and say some little jokes and stuff like that. And so everyone used to come in there, and some would come in and have a bit of a cry and stuff, and they'd soon go out smiling and stuff, and back in the game and things like that. And I remember an incident we was in New Zealand, and there was a tribute act called Freddie Mercury. It's a Freddie Mercury tribute act, and we was all in there. We was all having a really good time, having a good laugh and everything on our downtime. And he slipped off this stage, Julia. Oh my God, his leg just burst out with all this blood gushing everywhere, and he just jumped up, and he went, and he sang "The Show Must Go On." We was like, oh my God, we was in stitches. And the next news, me and Sam had gone up, and next news, he come knocking on our hotel, on our door. And I'm like, who's at the door at this time? We're going to bed, open the door. He starts singing again. So he's only followed us all the way back to our room, starts singing with us. I think Jackie come out and told him to bugger off. He's like, let these ladies have some sleep. Like, oh, they were funny times. And just some of the stuff that we did as a team, a team bonding stuff, and the songs that we were singing and the New Zealanders were singing. And I don't know where, people get that we couldn't sing. I thought we was absolutely great. I thought we was great. Might not have been as angelic as the New Zealand Maoris and the Kiwis and stuff, but I thought we were great.
I did as well. I was always really proud of you when you got up to have a sing.
Great.
Absolutely.
We had to do it on the spur of the moment, didn't we?
You
we had
did.
to make it up straight away.
Yeah. So what was the most challenging then, do you think, about your international career?
The most challenging was the fundraising. That was the most challenging. It was leaving the kids. It was the training regime. It was the training program, because you still had to play for your own club. You still had to do your training program that the coaches had given you to do. You had to find time to do that. You still had to go to work. You still had to do your kids. Your kids got ill. You still had to do everything. And it was reliant on other people as well to help with going to training, because if they didn't go, you weren't going, you know. And there was a few times when I couldn't go because, you know, Lucia or Paula wasn't going for whatever reason. And Jackie had just said, stick to your training program, and you know, we'll fill you in. And you always got printouts of kind of like the game plans and stuff like that, which, you know, I find that really difficult to do because I'm dyslexic as well. So that was really difficult for me. So that was a big challenge as well. So a lot of people and a lot of my friends used to talk me through them as well. And I'm more visual, me, Julia, than reading and writing. So, but yeah, so that was kind of one of the biggest challenges.
And what about the most positive aspects of all your international career?
The most positive, so reflection on that is, if it wasn't for that playing for Great Britain, I would never have got to know the wonderful, fantastic, great women that I know today, including yourself, Julia. You know what I mean? Including yourself.
Careful there, Wendy.
Yes. And, you know, and Sam Brook, I mean, I would never have got to know Sam Brook if it weren't for going on to the Great Britain Tour. Yes, I've played against her. Yes, but you're playing against her. You're having a drink in the pub afterwards for half an hour to an hour. You're finished. And that's it. You know, I would have never have got to meet the likes of Jane Banks, Lisa Mack, Brenda Dorbeck, all them other fantastic, Julie Cronin, all them. You know, I would have never, ever got to meet them. Would I? And, you know, if it wasn't for playing rugby in the first place, Julia, I would have never, ever been and met the people that I've met today. What it's given me is, it's given me a love to travel. You know, and if it wasn't for Rugby League, I would never have met my husband who I'm with today. You know, I would never have gone on to that journey of fitness that I'm in today. I love going to the gym. Gym's a massive part of my life. You know, I go 5-6 times a week. And that would never have happened if it wasn't through getting involved with Rugby League. It would never have happened. And also, if it wasn't for Great Britain and training with Great Britain and playing Rugby League, I would have never have gone to visit Sam over in New Zealand afterwards. Me and my husband went and did a tour in New Zealand, and we stayed with Sam Brook for a few days, which was fantastic. You know, I met her children, I met her boyfriend, her husband, you know, lovely, absolutely fantastic. And Becky Jones, I went to Australia as well. And that was another thing, I think, when we was playing, Becky just went, I'm not coming home. And I'm like, you are? You are coming home, young lady. And she went, I'm not coming home, I'm staying. I went, have you told your dad? Me, mother, have you told your dad? And yeah, she so I went, me and my husband toured Australia, and we went, met up with Becky, and that was wonderful. You know, so through Rugby League, it's just made me who I am, the person I am today, you know. And, you know, reflecting back, my kids, I think, are proud of me. You know, they're adults now, Julia, and I think, you know, poor souls, dragged them all through rugby, all through being young. You know, my kids played it when they were younger. So, yeah, it's reflecting back on that, it's just, I wouldn't have had all this but for that. So even though we didn't have that media coverage and we didn't have that, what I've got out of it is some precious, precious friends and memories.
Yeah, oh, that's lovely. Thank you. And what would you be saying to, you know, people with young girls who want to start up playing, or you know, the present lionesses, or women that play, women and girls that play? What message have you got for them?
So for the up and coming, for the England players today, listen, you're being watched. Okay, you're the role models now for everybody that's coming through. You know, I've seen a couple of them play. I've watched a couple of times on the TV. I'm in awe of them. You know, I'm like, fantastic. You know, if only this would have been done with us. But it hasn't, and it's been done now. And, you know, for that, we're truly grateful. For the youngsters that are coming through, these England players now are, and the Super League, the girls who are playing in the Super League teams, are the role models for these young girls coming through. And I just think, give it a try, you know, try it, and try again. You never know. This might be your passion. This might be your path in life to go and show your skills up to. And just girls, women and girls in any sport, you know. Julie, it was only last week I played a bit of X League, and I went training, with the Saddleworth Rangers team, and a man had come on the pitch and he was playing against me and he went, just run the ball in, love. And I went, yes, thank you, I will do. Thanks for that. You know, so these girls, get out there, get it done. You'll enjoy it. And, you know, you can take, you know, you can take the girl out of rugby, but you'll never take the rugby out of the girl. And I'm so happy.
Oh, Wendy, thank you. I have thoroughly enjoyed this interview. You are a true pioneer of women's rugby league, but also a hero for so many with you know, what you had to overcome, you know, as a young mum to play in your sport, but also the enthusiasm, as you still do now, as you say. So you still play now, and you know, you're still involved in all different sports. Thank you so much for your time, and I know everyone will just love to hear your story.
Oh, God. Oh, thank you, Julia. Thank you very much. Thank you.